Hello, everyone, and welcome to the What to Know Before You Go to Magic webinar for August 2017. My name is Stacey Avina. I'll be moderating today's discussion. And in a few moments, I'll introduce key speakers Celeste Bohm, VP of Retail Engagement at UBM Fashion, and Mercedes Gonzalez, the founder at Global Purchasing Companies. Before we start, I just want to go through a couple of housekeeping items. If you can, just make sure that you have clicked on both the dial-in that you've received and your attendee link. Make sure that your computer volume is turned up so you can hear from your computer. If there are, so you can hear all the speakers from your computer, or if you want to dial in, you feel free to do that. Check your system settings. Everyone will be placed on mute for the duration of the call. If you need to ask a question, please use the Q&A. That's at the bottom of your screen. And all questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. We know you guys have a lot going on. You're very busy, but we do want you to stay on for the full discussion, because not only are we going to go through maps and what to know on site at Magic, but Mercedes is going to do an amazing job towards the end of the presentation to really give you an idea and a look into buying tips, organizing the show, how to plan effectively, when to buy, and how much to buy. So really exciting stuff from an industry insider. So what I'd like to do now is turn it over to Celeste Bohm from UBM Fashion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're very thrilled that you have taken time out of your busy schedule to join us and to prepare yourselves for an exciting 3 days on our show floor. I would like to present Mercedes Gonzalez. She is the owner of Global Purchasing and Knowledge. I've worked with Mercedes for many years, and I would really encourage you, as Stacey just said, to stay on the webinar and to take advantage of her tips and her knowledge of the industry and how to buy. Mercedes?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening, and thank you for being part of this webinar today. I want to start first, before we get into all the details of the show and what you'll need to know, a little bit about our market industry. And I'm sure you've all been reading the news and probably thinking to yourself, my gosh, the world is ending, it's all Chicken Little, it's all this terrible news. But actually, if we drill down through it and we actually read what's going on, and we see that this big market mix-up that's happening is actually a great moment of opportunity, especially for the independents and especially for the big retailers too that have had to change up their game. You're going to find a lot of great real estate that is available now that hadn't been available before. You're going to find some really talented emerging designers that's going to keep you competitive from the online businesses like Amazon. And most importantly, there's a great talent pool of sales help that's available now. So if you were just thinking about opening a store or thinking about expanding your store, or as a designer considering going into market to reach out to some of these independent retailers, there probably hasn't been a better moment of opportunity in the last 10, 15 years. And just a little bit more about me and my experience with Magic. This August will actually be my 44th time attending Magic. And I've seen it grow over the years, and like one of my little fun facts that people don't always know is what Magic actually stands for. And it stands for Men's Association Guild in California. And that's where the show started in 1933, which is quite a long time ago. It has an amazing reputation anywhere around the world where I go. And we mentioned Magic and the trade show and the people that run it and the people that actually attend it. It's always well received with high regards. With one single badge, I say that you could not only visit 13 shows, but you will also travel around the world, especially when we talk about all the different brands that are launching and continuing to show at the show, and especially when we talk about sourcing. So it does happen twice a year in February and August. This show is going to be dedicated mostly towards spring deliveries for 2018, and it is located in two different venues, one of them being the Las Vegas Convention Center and the other one being the Mandalay Convention Center. So why Magic? So Magic really is like traveling around the world without having to have a passport. You will be able to connect with hundreds of brands in over 35 different countries. And most importantly, I feel like you'll be able to network not only with the brands and the owners and the designers, but also with other retailers. And that commodity is priceless. You'll get a review of the market and what's happening in the market all at one place in a very short period of time. You'll be able to look at trends, and it's really funny because being in the fashion industry, when you first get a glimpse of trend, and you're like, oh my gosh, who's going to wear that? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, because you start seeing it repeated in the different price point categories, in the different markets, and in the different shows that you'll be within. And of course, it's always good to meet the vendors that you might have had a virtual relationship with in the past and working with them online, in person, and to build those relationships, but that's probably the most important thing. There is nothing like the experience of going to a trade show, touching and feeling, and really understanding the product that you're buying. You can't really do that online until you've had that first experience. So you'll be able to shop by categories. It's men's, women's, footwear, children's, and sourcing. And there's also a lot of accessories that are within these shows. I'm going to list some of the shows as we go forward, but you can see on your slide, it's quite an intensive show. So now, if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, well, congratulations. That's the purpose of our meeting today, because I always feel overwhelmed. When I first walk in through those doors, look, if only Annalise is here with me, but she can see that I still get goosebumps thinking about all the excitement. And I always get excited because every 6 months you start to feel a little worn out, a little bit stale, a little bit comfortable maybe in the situation that you're in. But going to this trade show really breathes in a new life into you and into the industry. So let's talk about the Las Vegas Convention Center. Sourcing is going to be in the North Hall, so you'll see like the taxis will be able to drop you off either at North Hall or in South Hall. North Hall is the sourcing. You could walk directly through Women's Wear Daily Magic, which is in the Center Hall, and also the Children's Club. You'll be able to keep walking through there to get into FM Platform, and then WSA Magic and Footwear. So now I'm going to tell you a quick secret. It is approximately 110 degrees in Las Vegas. You don't need to leave the building to go to all of these different areas or different venues. There's actually shortcuts that you can take throughout the building. You'll have to go up some escalators, down some escalators, but all the Ask Me people that you'll find and some of the security people will teach you all of those shortcuts, so you never have to leave the building. And I will warn you, you might want to bring a sweater or maybe even a parka because it gets so cold inside of the building. So be prepared for those extremes. So Women's Wear Daily Magic, what will we find there? There are different categories and subcategories. The categories are Young Contemporary, and I just want to say, don't be fooled by that name, Young Contemporary, because you will find a lot of things that are, we don't shop as buyers anymore by age appropriateness, but by what fits and what looks right. So you're going to find a lot of margin builders in this area of Young Contemporary. You'll find a lot of forward fashion trends, and of course mixed in with all of that, you'll find some accessory vendors there too. There's activewear. If anybody has a little section of active, or if you have a studio with a yoga or anything like that, that's where you'll find it too. Alternative, some of the musical genres, you'll be able to find there too. And especially there's a whole cute little area of like these 50s kind of rockabilly vendors that is really fun. Some of your services for your business will be there too, and women's sportswear. So you'll also find that this is an opening price point to a moderate price point. And again, I want to emphasize on the fact that it's a great place to find margin builders. So the Children's Club is just that. It has your children's area. It has high-end. I shouldn't say high-end. It has good, better, best pricing within the children's departments. You have some that are great margin builders. You have some international people mixed in there too. And then you'll have a lot of established brands like Tommy Bahamas and Ralph Lauren and Hudson Kids, which have been there for the last couple of years. Now, some of the bigger brands, it is important to maybe reach out to them before the show or be prepared to fill out what they call a new store profile. Bringing pictures of your store ahead of time might be very helpful too. And if you're not open yet, just maybe taking a line sheet or setting up an appointment for later in the day, not during the prime time, would probably be to your advantage. So FM Platform is the shoe show. It's all the way in the South Hall, so it's the opposite side now. It has, again, good, better, best pricing. It has men's, it has women's, it has children's, and they break it down by different product categories that we'll go into in a second. There is a couple of things that I want to point out. Throughout all the shows, there are events that are going on. The opening night party for Platform is featuring world-class rockers at the FM Cafe at 6 p.m. And even though you might feel brain dead and physically exhausted, I do recommend that you go to some of these events, even if it's just for the networking. And it could also be that's where you get some one-on-one time with a brand that you want to explore, but they may not have had an appointment available for you. So this is really some of the things that should be part of your agenda while you're out at Magic. So Platform, it consists of different areas, all of them very easy to shop. All of the booths are very welcoming. Black Diamond is your luxury footwear, so you're going to find all your top brands there. And again, when we're talking about some of these top brands, it's really important to be prepared. So besides having pictures of your store, also some of the other brands that you might be carrying that would hang together. I actually recommend that, especially for a new retailer, that you have what we call a concept book put together, so that in one quick format, a couple of pages long, you could give that brand an idea of the type of store that you're going to be or the type of store that you've already opened. Women's fashion, Cosmo, which is the real fashion part of the show. Bonds is the more bespoken part of the show, the better part of the show for men's. Camp, you're going to find, this is kind of important too. Even though you might feel like your store only fits one of these looks, it is so important to actually shop all of the brand in all of the different categories that you might find on the floor. Because some of them might have a mix of product that fits in your store. Some of them might just be out of place within the show, but it's really important, especially for that new brand that you discover, because that's what makes you an industry expert, and that's what really separates you from everybody that's out there, that you've taken the time to look at the whole show and the whole floor and all of the categories. And for those of you that are just women's boutique that may not do footwear, it is so important to add some footwear to your store, because it finishes the whole outfit, and it makes you that store where you're not just a boutique now, but you're a lifestyle store, where you can come in and get the whole outfit from head to toe. So Zen is more of that comfort footwear. A lot of the hiking companies are there, which is really great. And and again, even though you're maybe a real contemporary, fashion-forward retailer, you're finding some of this comfort footwear showing up on runway. So it is important to see all of the mix of the store. So Play is the more junior and, of course, the children's area for the footwear. WSA Magic is going to also be in the South Hall. It's on the second level, and it is really your destination for fast fashion. This is, especially if you're mixing in some of the young contemporary that's over in North Hall, this is a great marriage so that you have that complete outfit. They do also have a cocktail hour at 4:30. This is a perfect time to take a break and have a drink and really just pace yourself with everything that's going on. Some of the brands that you might find there are like Long Mile Industry and Mecca and Weeboo. So there's just really a nice variety of these fast fashion and, again, margin builders that you could have in your store. The footwear sourcing, this is really important for a lot of the designers that are on the call with us today. It is so limited, your resources for footwear manufacturers, and Magic really has a great variety. It comes from many, many different countries, Ethiopia, India, Taiwan, Turkey, and it's funny because they're known for different products. Like right now, I'm really loving all the footwear that we find in Ethiopia. I find Mexico because of its duty-free, and Colombia for its duty-free, and speed to market is also very convenient. And not only that, but also the trade missions are there so that you can have a conversation with them too. There's a lot of technology that's being involved with footwear, a lot of 3D printing. We had a vendor last year showing us how he was 3D printing sneakers, so that's really exciting too. And for the retailers, if you have enough time to explore some of these resources, I would encourage you to, because this is also a part of your conversation and making you that credible expert. So sourcing. Sourcing at Magic is enormous. So we talk about traveling the world without a passport. This is truly the best example of that. And the minute you walk in, you see all the flags from all the countries around the world. It is quite impressive. You can find manufacturers from everything from buttons to zippers to full package, which is really important for a lot of designers so that they can just concentrate on doing their sales and their designing and not worrying about all the supply chain necessities that are normal. There are a lot of service providers too, like shipping companies and technical companies and machinery companies that you're going to find there. And one of the countries that is being highlighted this year is Vietnam. So Vietnam is very well known for its printed silks. So if that's something that you're interested in, then I would definitely stop by their booths. Of course, personally, I have a very soft spot for the African designers that are there. I find that their minimums are small and their speed to market is really great. And because of AGOA agreements, they also have free trade with the U.S. So there are help me desks that throughout the show if you're really lost and feel overwhelmed after you've walked the whole show, then I would probably go to one of the help me desks so that they can help you do some matchmaking directly with some of the resources that are available at the show. So Mandalay, and I just want to add one more thing about sourcing too. For the retailers, I must say it is so extremely important for you to take some time and also walk through the sourcing show, because we have found, especially with some commodity items, that you could do small run private label, like that gray shift dress that you do well with, or a t-shirt that you might do well, or a very basic pant that you can't find anywhere. These are the things that you might want to private label on your own, and this is where you'll find those kinds of resources. So the Mandalay Convention Center, and just for all intents and purposes, give yourself a full hour to get to the Mandalay. Like if you're going to catch a workshop or you have a meeting, make sure that you plan accordingly, because it does take that long. So it's made up of the collectives, project, the tents, pool trade show, project women's, and Stitch. And we'll go through all of them in just a second. But there's also a really nice selection of gift and home and stationery and some technical things that it's so important, especially around the holidays, and a lot of them will have immediate deliveries for you to fill in and really be that kind of lifestyle store where I could also find not only my outfit from head to toe for Thanksgiving dinner, but a hostess gift too. So this is the kind of what really separates a lot of the retailers, and this is what's going to make you very, very competitive in the future. So the tent is the most elevated contemporary designer collection for men. You're going to find really fashion forward and some classic looks here. You're going to find a better price point. There's not necessarily a lot of margin builders, but this is where you find a lot of handcrafted, well-made, detailed, oriented men's clothing. Project is just absolutely, I don't want to use the word overwhelming, but it is just a fantastic place to find so many different things and to really keep you ahead of the competition. You're going to find a lot of the premium denim here, a lot of the designer collections here. It's really well merchandised and easy to navigate the show. But again, I really want you to pace yourself, because at one point at the show, you're going to be walking down an aisle and you're going to suffer from what I call buyer's blindness. There's one point where everything starts to look the same, even though it's not. So this is where you take a break, and, you know, Project has a lot of things going on. They have the live model presentations. They have the blogger project going on that you can sit in on. They have the coffee bar that you can stop by and take a break in, too. So really reach out to some of these things that are for your benefit, and also use those opportunities to network with some of the other retailers. So, and, you know, I've mentioned that twice, but I just want to dig down a little bit more about that, because you might say, well, I don't want to talk to my competition, but don't think of it that way. Think of it as a networking opportunity, because especially if you become market friends, which we will all have a market friend, you know, sharing expenses, or if one person's store is in Washington, D.C., and another person's in California, you could maybe swap out merchandise, or you could share war stories. Like, this camaraderie, it's not competition. It's something important in order to build strength in the market. So the collective is more branded and licensed apparel. There's a lot more accessories for men and young men. You'll actually find the young men's area here. There is also some global licensing seminars that are really important. And some of the speakers, you know, I can't say enough about the speakers and the pedigree of some of these speakers, if you were to sit down with any one of these people one-on-one, it would cost you at least $1,000 an hour. And they're very generous with their time, and I sat in a lot of these licensing workshops, and it's really just part of the industry and knowing what you're doing. The pool trade show, I have to tell you, it's probably one of the most fun areas of the show. It's all the independent, it's art inspired, it's really fashion forward, there's a lot of craziness going on. There's a small section that is actually cash and carry, and again, this is a perfect opportunity for you to bring back a few things, really get your customers excited, put those pictures on Instagram, and instantly have a reaction to what you're doing at the market. There's a nice opening night pool trade show party sponsored by the Next Level Apparel, and the details are all in your book and also on the slide. There's a 2 o'clock drop, which is a coffee hour, and trust me, between the coffee hour and the happy hour, you will do a lot of work. The contemporary apparel and accessories as at Project Women's. Again, you'll find a lot of the denim company, a lot of the contemporary people are here. There's a lot of exciting things going on, and especially when it comes to stationery and gifts and home. I can't emphasize enough that this is not a product category that you're used to bringing in. Just really think of it as just one little table, maybe at the opening of your store where you have your moment of interruption so that people start thinking about what's going on with the store and also introducing this new product. So it's something that I really, really highly recommend, and we have been doing very well with. And of course, there's also that opening party. The show bag is being sponsored by Bella Dahl. And, you know, it's really funny because all of these years I have actually collected every single one of my magic show bags, and some of them are more coveted than others, but it's funny because even anywhere that I travel around the world and I have one of my magic bags, people will stop me and say, you know, what year was that show from, or that bag from. So Stitch is great. It's a better lifestyle. It's you'll find some women's plus sizes or some extended sizes, especially if people in your store are asking for 14s, 16s, and 18s. This is a great place to find it. It's moderate to better price points, and they have a great selection also of related separates. So this is definitely a must-stop for every boutique in the show. And of course, Curves Las Vegas. This is where you're going to find your resort collections. You'll also find some activewear here, some yoga clothing. There is I can't get the word out, intimate apparel, and of course swim. And of course, you know, going back to being that full lifestyle boutique, it is so important to have foundations. So you might not have a full like lingerie area with bras and panties, but you definitely want to bring in some shapewear. You definitely want to bring in some extenders. You probably want to bring in some hosiery, and this is the place that you're going to find all of those add-ons. So the Magic Seminar Series. Again, I am so grateful to Magic and UBM for actually hosting these amazing workshops. I personally have outlined a few of them that I want to take and my team wants to take. The learning experience that you have at Magic is really number one. Some of the other trade shows that I have gone to charge a tremendous amount for some of their educational series. There is no additional fee for the workshops at Magic, which I think is really phenomenal. Some of the ones that you cannot miss are the trend forecasting ones, like the ones from Fashion Snoops, which is also doing a collaboration and a big board over at sourcing. So even for the retailers, if you get 10 minutes to go over to sourcing, that's probably the area that I would want to concentrate in. And while all of these companies, you know, have very legitimate consulting businesses with very large fees, they're extremely generous with the amount of information that they put out there for you, and there is no like hard sell afterwards. One of the workshops that I'm looking forward to is Your Store Has to Be Different, and it's going to be given both at the Mandalay and at the Convention Center, Las Vegas Convention Center. For all of you that are like social media shy, which is absolutely not an option, there's a great workshop on growing your business with email and social media. And just really take the time to look through the brochures of all the other workshops that are available. And of course, come to one of mine, please. So, Las Vegas Convention Center seminars. They are located in 2 different venues. They're the convention center ones are all located on the second floor. So once you walk in, you'll see these escalators. Just go right up the escalators, and you'll find them up there. The sourcing seminars are going to be over at the North Hall. The platform, the footwear seminars are going to be also in the South Hall on the second floor, and the WSA ones are going to be on the first floor or the first level. So they're in kind of separate areas, but they're all pretty much, I would say, 10-minute walking distance from each other in the Las Vegas Convention Center. And at the Mandalay, where some of the other workshops are going to be held, they're all held in the buyer suite near the collective, which is going to be, when you walk in, you're going to make a left and walk all the way to the end. And I know it sounds funny, but you'll remember that when you get there. So the show hours, it runs from Monday, August the 14th, starting at 9 a.m., and it runs until 6 p.m. And I just want to tell you, my advice is if you don't have your badge, please get there early. Please register online. If you have any problems registering online, please contact somebody at UBM so that you have that all squared out, because you don't want to be caught with the surprise that they won't let you in. And I have to say something that while they are very strict and very formal about all of that, there really is an industry reason, and that's because this is not a trade show for people with hobbies or people that just want to buy stuff for themselves. This is the show to come and do business. So transportation, there are complimentary bus shuttles for most of the hotels, so you could also check online for which hotels are part of the shuttle service. And while you might be tempted to call an Uber or you might be tempted to jump in a cab, I do remind you that even that shuttle bus ride is another opportunity for you to network with somebody. And I just want to tell a quick story about probably one of the best advices I ever got that I still think about to this day was the shuttle that I was on right after 9/11. And it was a difficult time. Like, people weren't flying. The show really was scarcely visited because everybody was afraid, right? And I was sitting on the bus literally with a Japanese couple and a really elderly old man. So I decided to sit next to the old man, and I said to him, it's really funny that, so few people here, everybody's afraid, what brings you to magic? And he said, well, I have had a store for 3 generations. I'm the grandfather. My son has taken it, and my grandson is running it now. And none of them wanted to come out because everybody's taking a wait-and-see approach. But I have lived through World War II, the Great Depression, recessions, bad presidents, and I can tell you one thing. When people are sad and depressed, they do 2 things. They drink and they shop. So I'm here to buy new product, and that's really, regardless of what you're listening about the economy and the state of retail, if you have new product, if you have new brands, if you have innovation, if you have something that says, wow, you will sell. Absolutely will sell. So there's also golf carts. Again, if you're brave enough to deal with the heat and you hop outside, the golf carts will take you from South Hall to North Hall very efficiently and quickly, and very stylish, I might add. Uber and Lyft have also partnered with Magic, so there is a code that you can use and a special pickup spot for them. And of course, there is a shuttle service that on the last day of the show, which is Wednesday, from both areas, you'll be able to take the shuttle between the hours of 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. So just in the afternoon to get to the airport. And again, another moment for networking. So there are brand books and buyer's guides that are available. It is important, and that's one of my advices that I'm going to give you, to pick up this book as soon as you get in. Stop over at the Starbucks, get your cup of coffee, and really map out your day. The buyer guides map out the floor plans. They also have all the new brands and anything northworthy called out by category, and it also has the day-to-day schedule of all the seminars that are available to you too. The show planner is absolutely important. It's an app that you can download, and it has all the exhibitors, the seminars, the floor plan, the special events. It helps you also create your agenda. It helps you keep your notes in order too, and it also helps you create your favorites. So just think of it as a personal assistant while you're at the show. The next thing that I want to talk to you about, which is really, really exciting, and I still think that it's such an unbelievable, underrated service, which is your retail concierge service. you actually have a personal concierge that you can email, and the email information and the phone number is there. And again, if you have problems with registration, this is probably the email that I would reach out to, and they will help you organize your trip. They will help you set appointments with the brands. They would give you advice on which brands to go to, or they would even forward some of the line sheets and lookbooks. So this, again, besides having your virtual assistant, you have a personal, real-life assistant. There are retail amenities available on the floor. There's food and beverage, and it's really cute because you're going to be, time is really such an issue and such a commodity when you're at the show. So there are, thankfully, all of these little kiosks all throughout the show where you can get a falafel, you'll be able to get some Ben & Jerry's ice cream, you'll be able to, instead of sitting in the major cafeterias, which may still be under construction, this kind of grab-and-go lunch is probably the preference that you're going to want anyway for the sake of time. The Wi-Fi that you'll be able to have available is there when you log in. And, of course, there's a few lounges throughout the show floor that you can sit and relax for a minute. My advice is to find an event instead of just going to the lounge or to sit in on one of the seminars. So Shop the Floor, think of Shop the Floor as your virtual showroom. So now you've gone, you've met with some of the brands, you've taken your notes, you want to review again the line sheets, you want to review some of the samples, or they might update you on what's still available, what's not available if you were looking for immediate. This is the place to go. So again, it's a downloadable app that's available. It's available, is it through iTunes? Yes, it's available through iTunes, and it can be used on both Androids and Apple phones, and it is a great way to keep in touch with some of these brands that you've met and that you'll want to continue to work with. So a couple of the pre-show preps. So it's funny because the preparation before the show is equally as important as what you do after the show. So once you complete your registration, and you'll get that email confirmation saying that you are verified. So I really want you to read that email, because I've had the experience where some of my clients have registered and gotten the rejection letter, and they felt that that was their registration. So make sure that it's complete. Bring that email with you, and you will need a photo ID once you come into the show. So I want you to dress professionally, and the reason why I say this is not to be kind of a fashion snob, but we are in the fashion industry, and people will judge you. I have looked around, when we do this workshop the first day, at 9 o'clock, and I have said this, and I'm looking around, and some people are literally dressed like a homeless person on laundry day. You can't work in the fashion industry, expect somebody to give you an appointment when you don't look the part. So it is important advice that I can give you on that. You have to have your projections, your open to buy ready, which is the budget that you want for the money that you're spending at the show by departments. You want to be able to have business cards that are professionally printed. And again, it's so important, especially for the new retailers, to make a good first impression. So if you have that, cut and paste icon from Vistaprint on a cheap card with an AOL email, most likely a big important brand is not going to give you an appointment. So it is important to kind of prepare yourself for all of that. Don't bring a giant bag or a rolling cart with you. I already know the professional catalog carriers, because once, and I'm telling you this as a buyer for many, many years, if you think that you're going to get all the line sheets and all the catalogs and carry them home with you and then lay them out on your bed and write your orders, you're going to lay them out in your bed and start to cry, because you will not remember anything that you bought. And again, that buyer blindness works also when you're at home. So please, and we're going to give you a series of doing the orders, but please don't think of that as one of your options. Bring a cell phone and a charger for your phone, and especially if you have an extra battery, I would take that along with me too. And of course, you can always bring your laptop to write your orders at night or to actually follow up on your emails. Because of course, the store doesn't stop working while we're at market. Life has to continue. So pre-show prep, make notes, talk to your vendors, talk to your salespeople, talk to your customers, ask them what they're looking for. Even have a contest with your best customers on new item products that they're looking for or brands that they want to see in your store. And if you're a new store, it is important to actually have a list of the people that you want to see or the types of brands that you want to have in your store, because if you walk in with just an open mind and a notebook, you will go insane. it is important to have some kind of focus. Review the merchandise that you have on the floor now. Look at the sell-throughs. See if there's a brand that you absolutely love but don't make any money on. It's probably time to move on and find new resources. Spend the time to read up on the fashion magazines, see what's going on. Subscribe to Fashion Snoops online. Subscribe to some of the other people online so that you have a good idea of what's happening. And especially for the designers, I recommend subscribing to the Sourcing Journal, just to be updated on what's going on with the different countries and the different agreements and the different opportunities. Plan your budget. So we're going to go into a little bit more detail about this because trust me, even today, like I get really excited about a brand and I spend all my budget on one brand. It's so important to have that discipline and that kind of regiment laid out before we come to market. Plan your workshops. That's really important, and especially some of the trend ones. You want to get there early, so make sure that you pace yourself, especially when you're getting around in the show. So during the show, be familiar with some of the retail lingo. And I wish there was a book that I could give you that would tell you all the lingos, but one of the examples I want to share with you was after, we do the Retail 101 crash course on the first day, and these two young girls came up to me and they said, Mercedes, they keep saying that they have 2:15s, but it's already 4:30. How am I going to make an appointment? I'm like, they're not telling you what time your appointment is. They're telling you the cancellation date that they have. So that would be a 2:15. So you want to be able to understand a little bit of the lingo to be able to be clear, especially when you're writing your orders. So I do want you to write your orders while you're at the show. Again, going back to that drama of you carrying all these catalogs and taking all these pictures and having all these line sheets and then trying to make up your mind, it's really doing the work twice. So what I like to do is I like to write my order on my own order form, and of course you're not going to have time to get your own order forms. Everybody has an order form, but the idea that you have an organized system is more important. So I write my orders at the show, but I always mark them hold for confirmation. So now I have time to go back, look at my budget, look at my pictures, and maybe somebody had it faster, maybe somebody was a few cents cheaper, maybe somebody had better perception of value on their quality. So all of those things I take into consideration, and then I confirm my orders. Take a picture of the things that you buy, and don't forget, like a little trick is you probably want to take a picture first of the business card of the person and then of the items that you're buying so that you can keep it kind of organized. But I will advise you this, do not go randomly taking pictures of stuff because they kind of frown upon that. Don't buy just price or just because it's a brand that you recognize. Really seek out the brands that you're not familiar with and give those people opportunities because those most likely are not going to show up on a Google search cheaper online. So don't forget, you're the buyer. If something doesn't feel right for your store, you can walk away. If the minimums are too high, you can walk away. If the price is too high, you can walk away. So when to buy and how much. So I'll start with what we're doing right now. Right now, it's the opening of spring 2018. So that means our early deliveries could be a 2:15 cancel or a 2:28 cancel, and they can go all the way out until March or April. But at the same time, I'm also buying immediate, and I'm also buying some holiday to fill in. So in case you haven't gotten it, as a buyer, your job of buying is a full-time job. We're always buying at least 3 seasons at the same time. I've broken it up a little bit here, but every store has a different personality and a different turnover rate. But as a rule of thumb, I like to buy at the beginning of the season, so that would be spring, at least 45% of my budget. In season is probably about 35%, so I'm still buying all the way to holiday. And I always leave some budget available for opportunities. So a closeout, a liquidation, something that went off price, something I didn't know I was doing well with. For example, did anybody else, the color yellow, did that catch everybody by surprise? We've been doing phenomenal business with the color yellow. So I might use that budget now to keep buying into it all the way until probably the early fall. So margin building, moments of opportunity are also very relatively available during Magic, so I would ask for them because nobody's going to tell you about them. So this is a very simple way of doing my open to buy. There are some, the smart guys are doing some workshops at the Buyers Lounge at the Las Vegas Convention Center. They have a POS system, or I should say an open-to-buy system that is more calculated and more exact, and it does a lot of the formulas for you. I'm still pretty much old school because this is the way I learned it, and I like paper and pen. I still keep a journal and paper and pen. I don't have any appointments on my phone. But basically what you want to do is write out all of the months. And then depending on your sales per square foot, which is something that you're going to have to figure out or already know, we're going to base our budget on that, especially if you're a new store. If you're a store that's already existing in business, you're going to take a look at all of your month's sales and kind of come up with an average for that month and up and down. So I just want to give you a point or two, because you might be buying immediate. A lot of new stores or a lot of industry misconception is that December is a great month for retail, but it's not actually a great month for boutique business. So I would probably go higher in my budget for October delivery so that I can sell them in November, because November people are still shopping for themselves. They're shopping for Christmas photo pictures or Hanukkah photo pictures, or they're shopping for Thanksgiving outfits, or they're shopping for their corporate party outfit. In December, people are buying price because they're buying for gifts. So I would really make an emphasis of doing events and really buying heavily more for my November sales than I would for my December sales. So having considered all of that, consider the events that you might be having. Like in October, October is always like a weird retail month because it's not really back to school in fall, but it's not really holiday yet. So we do a lot of promotions for breast cancer awareness. So that might mean buying something pink or buying something that's giving back to a charity, having an event in your store that would qualify for that too. You have to keep in mind any holidays. You want to be buying for your cancel date, and always keep in mind how much inventory you have on hand and how much money you actually need to project to do your sales projection. And usually the ratio, and I know I'm just saying a lot of stuff that may not make a lot of sense to you, but if you hear one thing from me is the proportion of sales versus the amount of goods you have in your store has to have a ratio. So if you're planning to sell $30,000 in your store, the ratio that we use is a 3 times ratio. So that means in retail dollars, you should have at least $90,000 in stock. So of course, depending on your markup, if you have a 2 times markup, that means that half of it has to be cost of goods. If you have a 2.5 markup or a 3 times markup, the cost of your goods goes significantly lower. So that's why it's really important to understand your budget and how much you can afford to spend. I actually won't get upset if you overbought, because you could always have a sale or an event or something to get rid of it. But I always worry about the stores that don't buy enough to fill the store, and it, first of all, visually looks empty, and second of all, you can't make your overhead without the goods. So once you start figuring it out by classification and department, you have to start breaking it down. How much % of my sales is in dresses? How much of it is it in men's jackets? How much of it is it in outerwear or hats or belts or whatever it is? You have to break it down by department, and you have to break it down again by the categories in each of those departments. And the really, really nice thing that I can't emphasize is that Magic actually is your one-stop shopping for everything that you can imagine for your retail store. So now I'm going to teach you how to be a professional buyer in 5 minutes. Ready? First thing you want to not do is you don't want to walk into a booth and ask what your minimums are. Because the minute you do that, you have just told everybody, I don't know what I'm doing, and please take advantage of me or ignore me completely. And just remember that in these 3 days, these vendors have a lot vested in their space and in their time. So for you to come in kicking tires and not knowing what you're doing, you're just wasting not only your time, but the vendor's time too. First thing is you want to look at the collection. You want to take a look. You want to try to get a feeling for it. You want to look at the price points. You want to be able to see if it's a good match for your store or not. And one of the things I tell the buyers is don't look at the price immediately, but in your head already calculate what your customer is willing to pay for something. And now that's the next question. Can you give me an idea of price points? And if you can't get a good margin of at least a 2.2 to a 2.3, it's probably not a good brand for you. And it's okay, because there's only 7,000 more brands at the show for you to look at. What is your cancel date? This is an important question, because now you want to know when you're getting your goods. And your cancel date legally means the last possible date that they can ship you something without you canceling the order. And this is something really, really important that I want to tell you. Please do not place orders and then just cancel them. You will be blackballed from the industry. This is why I emphasize that you write your orders at the show, but then you hold for confirmation, or in big letters just put notes, confirmation to follow, or, order to follow. Because you do want to have the time to analyze the budget, analyze the product, analyze the deliveries of your products. And I got to tell you something, again, after 25 years of buying, I still open up a box and say, oh my God, what the hell was I thinking when I bought this, right? Even though I do all of these processes that I tell you. So I guess what I'm saying, it's okay. So the start date is the day that you want to start receiving the goods, and it's usually the day that the vendor will ship it out to you. So again, I do not accept as ready as a date start. I actually want a number. So if I want this to be a February delivery, I might say I want a 2/1 start with a 2/15 cancel, especially if I want it to be sales for the next month. So remember, if you're getting something shipped in February, you're not going to sell it in February, you're going to sell it in March. What are your terms and are you factored? This is a nice way of saying, how am I paying for the goods? So most of us, because we're new or small boutiques or haven't established industry credit yet, will be paying on credit card terms. My strong advice is do not give your credit cards at the show. You want to make sure that they send you a pro forma invoice. You want to match it to your order. Then you want to send them the credit card authorization form on your paper that clearly says that they have 2 days to ship out the goods before you can cancel the order. Because it has happened where a lot of these brands will charge your credit card and you don't get the goods for 30 days. So it takes 30 minutes for them to charge your card. It takes them 30 seconds to charge your card and 30 days for you to get your money back. So please really be careful and cautious who you give your credit card to and when. Where do you ship from? There are a tremendous amount of international brands at the show. So you want to ask them what their FOB is. So FOB is an old term meaning freight on board. And what you're asking is, where am I responsible for paying the shipping? So you might go to that really cute, kids line from Portugal, and they're actually shipping you from Portugal. You have to consider all of the taxes and duties that are involved with that. Now, I don't want that to discourage you at all. This is what's going to separate you from everybody else in the market, that you've taken a chance on this brand and you're actually going through the trouble. And when I mean trouble, it's not even a big deal anymore. FedEx, UPS, and DHL, a lot of these shipping companies that will consolidate for you, they make the process so easy and they act as your receiving broker, so it really isn't a big deal at all. Do you have at-once goods? This is a great way of finding those margin builders, things that are off price. And I would ask them that straight up. Do you have anything off price that I could start with the brand to test it out and see how it works? What is your opening order? So, wait, I'm sorry, I missed one. What is your size run and how do they compact? This is really important because a lot, especially in the young contemporary, will compact 222. So what does that mean? That means, because I've asked them what their size run is, they run from small to large, and they run 222 pre-pack. So you can't ask them, can I have 3 pieces, because they just told you it's a pre-pack. And a pre-pack's a pre-pack. You cannot open a pre-pack. So, and again, if you don't feel like you can sell 6 pieces of something, then you need to walk away because that's what they're selling you. In the more expensive brands, in the higher brands, they might say that it's open scale, but you need to buy at least 3 pieces of a style. And when it comes to footwear, a lot of them compact and master cases. So you need to figure out if it's 18-piece case pack or a 24-piece case pack, and then you have to make the decision if you wanted to start with a size 5 and run through 9, or if you wanted to start with a 6 and run through size 10. All of these things are negotiable, but all of these things you need to talk about up front when you're writing your order. And of course, the last one there is this your best price? Or is this the best you can do? And this is a way to start a conversation about buying these margin builders and having availability. Some of the brands, some of the really big brands, they may not offer off price at the moment, but if you ask for it and you're already one of their clients that is doing well with it and selling it at full price, they will contact you and let you know in the future when they do have an incentive or a show special. And that's another thing that you want to ask for too, if anybody has a show special. My favorite show specials are actually free shipping. And shipping can cost a lot of money, so if anybody's offering that, I would definitely take advantage of it. So some more tips about shopping magic. Start early. I want to emphasize, you are not on vacation. Even though you might go to the opening party, you need to get yourself out of bed and get to the show. It is a very, very big show, and you need to pace yourself through it. And because you are now not just retailers, you are merchants, incredible experts, you need to see as much of the show as you possibly can. Use the show planner and your app to guide you through the show and really work out the things that you need to feel you're open to buy, and then to give you the time to look for the new resources. If you find a busy booth, make sure that you take the time to ask for an appointment. Just tell them, hey, when's a good time to come back? And don't forget, if they tell you 2:15, ask if that's a time or a cancel date. Network. I've emphasized it now 4 times. It is so important. It's crucial. Some of the friends that I've made at market, some of the advice I've gotten at market, some of the relationships that I've built at market are absolutely priceless. And set yourself a goal, especially for the new, especially for the established retailers that are on the call today. You know, I suffer from it too. You get lazy. Like, you know what really ticks me off? When I'm used to going right to a brand that's always in that corner booth and they move them, I completely freak out, even though he might just be across the hall. So you want to be able to make that goal of not just going to the ones that you're comfortable with and been successful with, but also finding out who their competition is and how you can bring them into the store too. And of course, one of the advices is wear comfortable shoes, and I want to tell you another secret, there is no such thing. Once you start walking your 20,000 steps a day, there is no such thing as a comfortable shoe, so my advice is actually have 2 different kinds of shoes with you. Maybe one is more of a trendy athletic shoe and a small heel, or a high heel and a smaller heel, but you're going to definitely need the variation in shoe height and type of shoe. So post-show follow-up. It's not over until it's over. It's not over until that order is shipped. So make sure that you have received your digital line sheets if you requested them. Review your pictures, go over everything with your sales team, confirm your orders. The ones that you're not going to confirm, you know, usually I don't bother to tell the vendor I'm not confirming the order. If they call me, then we'll have a conversation about it. But I don't exactly throw them away either. So what I like to do is keep all the orders I didn't confirm in a file by cancellation date. So everything for January shipping, February, March, April, and so on, I keep it because, and I write a note why I didn't write it. I ran out of budget, the guy was a jerk, it was more expensive, whatever it is, right? I'll put a clear note on my order form. And because during season, like going back to those yellow dresses, I'll go back to my notes and see who else had immediates that now I need to fill in. And if it was an issue of price, I might ask them, listen, do you have any stock left? Have you broken price on that? So it's always a good reference, all the notes that you've taken that you don't place, to keep them handy for those reasons. You want to follow up on all the orders that you have placed. Now, this is incredibly important because I will tell you, as a buyer, at least 30% of the orders I place, I don't receive. It could be for a number of reasons. They ran out of the merchandise, they didn't make it, they didn't get enough orders to fulfill the minimums from the factories. It could be a lot of reasons. So this is why it's important to keep your notes and to follow up on your orders, because more likely than not, the vendor will not call to tell you that your order's been canceled or some of the styles have been dropped, and then you're going to be left scrambling during the season. So our retail experts that you'll find on the floor are, you know, Celeste will be there, Kelly will be there, Gail, Sandy Shapiro, she runs also the Buyer's Lounge where you'll go to a lot of the workshops. Susan will also be there at the Buyer's Lounges. Karen, Misha, and Drew, they're all experts. They all know the floor better than anybody else. These are your resources, these are your concierges, and really honestly take advantage of them. So this is my information. Follow me on Instagram, because even if you don't have the opportunity to go to Magic this time, I will be doing some live feeds and I will be posting my favorite pics on Instagram. And also, if you have any more questions about opening a store or running a store, we actually have a workshop, a full-day workshop this Monday in New York City that's going to be running during the New York City trade shows. So hope to see you all at market. And I will pass it over now to Stacy, that's going to take your questions.
Fantastic. So thank you, Mercedes. I know this is a lot of information, a lot of great information. A lot of the interaction that we've been getting on the Q&A is, this is fantastic. I want to know more, and can we get these slides? So yes, the slides and the recorded link will be made available about 1 hour after this webinar ends. If you don't receive, please contact Stacie, Stacie.avena, A-V-E-N-A, at ubm.com, and I can send that to you. So what I'd like to do now is just go through some of the questions that we've received. We received a lot, so if we don't get to everyone's questions, please, send it again, and we will get back to you privately for sure. So one of the questions that came through was, where is the best place to find plus-size clothing? So what would be the best show at Magic to find plus-size clothing?
Well, I would definitely start at, do you mind if I answer that one?
No,
I would definitely start at Stitch. I would definitely start at Stitch, and I would also walk through Women's Wear Daily, the main show, where you'll get a lot of the related separates, but WWD Magic, and I will also walk through Young Contemporary, because believe it or not, a lot of those Young Contemporary people have added a plus-size grouping to their collections, so I'm always happily surprised to see what I can find. Now, just a small warning, with the Young Contemporary plus sizes, they might go up to 5X, 6X. It is no way near a 5X. It's always much, much smaller than that. So I would say, like, if I was to give you a number, a 5X or a 6X might just be maybe a size 22.
Great. Thank you. A couple of other questions that came through. Is there one place I can see all the events that were mentioned for the shows? So I can answer that one. Yes, ubmfashion.com, go to Magic, and there's a planning tools section that has seminars and events, and that you just click on that, and for each day you can see what's happening that would best fit your needs from an educational perspective. So again, that's ubmfashion.com. You want to go to the Magic show page, and under planning tools you can access seminars and events, and that will give you everything that's happening on site for each of the individual shows. Everything from happy hours to educational seminars to parties. Okay, let's see. There was another question that came through. For startup e-commerce boutique, can you ship to P.O. Box?
You would have to, you would have to make an arrangement with the brand. It's up to each one of them to make that kind of decision. But off the top of my head, I will tell you that most of them are very hesitant to ship to a P.O. box.
Another question that came up was, it was still along the same lines as plus size, but they want to know, is that available for juniors?
Yep, and the Young Contemporary, definitely I would consider those plus sizes more junior than they are the bigger adult sizes.
Great. Another question that came through, this is about brands. How do I know which brands will be on site this August at Magic? So I can answer that as well. If you do go to ubmfashion.com and you know what kind of show you want to walk and do business with, each show has a brand list right on there, right at the top of the website. So let's say you wanted to see what was happening at WWD Magic. You would just go to ubmfashion.com, select WWD Magic as the show, and right there at the top you will see a button that says brand list. Okay, let's see what other questions. Oh, we have a few more that came up. Okay. Do most young contemporary sizes tend to fit closer to junior sizing or women's sizing?
In the past, I would say that they were more junior, but a lot of them have really changed their specs to be a woman's size, a Missy size. And again, there's so many brands there, you really have to kind of feel it. But one of the ways that I would judge it is ask the brand when you're at the booth if the sample that you're looking at is a production sample or a showroom sample. If it's a production sample and it's a size medium, you can gauge then if it's going to fit your customer or not.
Great. What is the best vendor for getting my clothing line out? Also fabric manufacturing if suits, women and men's.
Okay, I think that question is like a two-part question that wasn't phrased right. There are no vendors that are going to get your brand out. You would have to do your own sales. And if you actually go to the sourcing show on Sunday, which opens a day earlier than Magic, at noon, there's going to be a couple of workshops on getting your product out to market. There's one on doing business in the U.S. if you're international, and there's one that I'm hosting that's going to tell you on how to do the sales. As far as textile, there's a plethora of different textile manufacturers, but if you're doing suits, my best advice to you is there's going to be quite a few Turkish designers, and I believe there's one Indian factories that are full package, which means they have a selection of the textiles that they already use in-house, and they'll help you figure out the designs that you want to do, which is great when you're working with a full package factory, and they'll do the cut-sew textile all set at one price in one location. So again, I would walk the show, take a look at what's being offered. There's quite a few that are doing men's and women's suits, and also some outerwear that are full packages at the show.
Great. Okay, do we need to make appointments with vendors, or can we just walk up to the booths?
So yes and no. It really depends on the vendor. Some of the bigger brands, some of the more important brands, probably already have all of their appointments set up, but that doesn't mean that you can't still try to get a appointment with them. But most of them you're going to find that it's pretty easy just to come in the morning and say, hey, can I come back at this time in the afternoon? If you're going to do that walk-in strategy with some of the bigger brands, I would definitely do it first thing in the morning when you get them fresh, and you could also give them your cell phone number and ask them to call you if they have any cancellations. But most important, if you can't get the appointment at the show, this is the moment of networking where you get the person's business card, especially the person for your region, and you can set up something after the show, and you probably couldn't have done that if you just did it on the telephone. But I would say 90% of them, it's going to be okay just to walk in during the show.
Great. Another question. If you have an assistant that you want to come, do they need another badge, or will they be able to get in with my badge?
I can answer that question. We welcome your assistant. You will have to register your assistant separately under your company name. And if you need help, we in Retail Relations will be very happy to help you.
Okay. Are there vendors for supplies such as custom print, poly mailers, gift wrap, etc.?
To my knowledge, no. There hasn't been in the past. There's been some packaging people, but I don't know about the poly bags.
Okay, great. And just so everyone on the line, we'll get to everyone's questions. So if you would love to stick around, please do so we can answer your questions. Those that need to drop off, this will be recorded. So you'll be seeing that link about an hour after the call commences. Another question that came up, let's see, let me get to these, is picture taking allowed during the show?
And I can take that one. Yeah. Picture taking is not permitted during the show unless it's in a booth and you have the permission of the vendor to take a picture of their product within their booth.
But can I just add to that too? You know what's a fun picture to take is of people's outfits. I love taking pictures of all the variety of outfits and looks that you'll see at the show. But again, you want to ask the person if you can take their picture too.
Great. Another question. If you're a designer as well as a buyer, is the Sourcing at Magic a place to get every possible business card to get your brand perfected?
100% absolutely yes.
Okay. I'm a small women's boutique shop. Would sourcing be something I should look into?
Yeah, why not? I mean, by small, I mean, there are vendors. Again, if you're a small boutique, probably wouldn't design something really fashion forward. I would probably stick to a commodity item, something that you sell a lot of that you could probably get a good price at. It might be like that perfect shift dress. It might be a perfect pair of pants. It might be the perfect T-shirt that you could probably, because it's a commodity item, you might need to make 50 to 100 pieces, but that might be 3 months, 4 months worth of inventory that you're saving, 50, 60, 70% on, then that's a really, really good investment for any size boutique.
Our next question is, I'm launching my e-commerce business for women's clothing December 1. When should I start buying?
I wish the question was, should I be launching my e-commerce business on December 1 so I could say no. It's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. It's such a big conversation, but especially the day that you're launching, it's not a good time. And online sales for fashion, especially for a startup, are just not profitable. I could give you the example of Nasty Gal, who had first round funding of $20 million and is still bankrupt, and had to go brick and mortar, and how every single online retailer has gone brick and mortar. But to answer your question anyway, I would probably start buying with October deliveries to make sure that I get everything on time and be able to photograph it for my December 1st launch.
Great. Where is the best place to find clothes for the 50% to be lady? I think that might have been a misprint. So we'll get back to that one. Maybe whoever sent that.
Could it be a church lady? Could that be a church lady? No, seriously, that's like a big product category. And there, in Women's Wear Daily Magic, there is a whole section of these fantastic matching suits and hats. There's probably, I would say, like a good 20 vendors that cater to this special lady. So if that was the question, yes, that's the area I would probably start at.
So WWD Magic, great. Is the sourcing at Magic the best way to find your manufacturer?
It's probably the only way you want to find your manufacturers. It is so vast in the different product categories. Like literally, you can find underwear to wedding dress factories from around the world at this sourcing show.
Great. How can we go about learning the retail lingo? I wish there was like just a simple way of doing it. I know that the Business of Fashion has been doing a really nice job on Friday to teach, like a new fancy industry vocabulary word. But it really is about doing and being. And even today, like somebody will say something to me and I'm like, what the heck is that? But I'll just look it up. But I'll just won't let them know that I didn't know, right? And one of the words that came up recently was a clam digger. And I'm like, oh. So that's actually just a fancy word for a capri pant. I like clam diggers. Kind of cute, right? I think I've heard that.
Very.
Okay. I have an ethically conscious boutique, and last year some brands were tagged as good brand or something like that. That showed that they had an ethical value. Are you going to have something like that? Yes, Project Women's
has the conscious collections, which will be they will be labeled within the show floor, and it also, Stacy, will be in the directory, correct?
Yes. Okay. What is your 2 top don'ts for going to the show? So what would be the 2 things that you say, don't do this for going to the show?
Don't, you know what? Don't go with a friend. That assistant of yours, it better be somebody that actually works in the store and not your friend, because then you get wrapped up in like personal shopping and what she likes and what she thinks. And this is the best advice in general. You cannot buy the things that you like. you have to buy the things that sell in your store. And to quote some of my clients, a lot of ugly crap is actually what sells in the store. So you need to separate yourself. I think that that's probably the most important rule as a buyer, to separate who you are as a person and what your taste level is, and who you are as a merchant and what can make money in your store.
My registration was for sourcing only. What does that mean?
That means you are a designer who is only allowed to go to sourcing. And there's a reason for that, because they don't want designers to be walking the floor and doing corporate reconnaissance or corporate espionage on the brands that have already sacrificed a lot to get to where they are. So that's why the shows are definitely separated, and you definitely won't get in with just a sourcing badge to the rest of the ready-to-wear show.
And I'll step in here too. If you have any questions about that, you can contact our customer service department at cs@ubmfashion.com.
Great. Will you have many sunglass vendors?
Yeah, actually in accessories, there's quite a few of them, and a lot of them are scattered throughout the different shows because of their price point and their looks. So you'll find some really cool ones over at Pool. You'll definitely see a whole bunch of really retro and fashion-forward ones at Project. There's a couple of them over at Young Contemporaries, which have a really nice opening price point, being a margin builder. So there's definitely a big variety throughout the different venues.
And you can also reach out to the retail concierge and ask them to provide a very concise list of sunglass vendors in a price point that you're looking for, and we would be happy to do that.
Another question that came through, are cameras allowed for blogging purposes? I know we answered the picture question earlier.
You would have to have a press badge to be considered a blogger, and in that case, cameras would be permitted, but again, it's at the discretion of the brand or the vendor giving you permission to take that photo.
What is the best place to buy young women clothing for petite?
So there's two options that you can have. Actually three. Stitch, again, besides the plus sizes, they do offer some other specialty sizes like petites. Young Contemporary, there's a lot of vendors that will also offer petite sizing, and Women's Wear Daily Magic area also has a lot of related separate vendors that offer petite. I would also ask some of the brands if they're offering petite, because they may not have brought it to the trade show, but they do it as private label for another, a national retailer, and they could probably put you into their cutting ticket also. And that's a really great opportunity for you to do it under your own brand too. So that would be called private label. You'll have the opportunity to do some private label, especially if they're doing a run already for somebody else.
Great. Okay, we got a little bit of an elaboration from an earlier question. Their customer name is the one that we couldn't figure out. Where is a good place to start looking for clothes for my customer? Moderately priced items.
So there's a lot of opportunity for moderate price. Anytime that I said margin builder, like the Young Contemporary, some areas of Women's Wear Daily Magic, some of the even going to sourcing if you're going to do a small production run of a commodity item. So there's a lot of opportunity for moderate prices scattered throughout the show. It's all really dependent on what your consumer price resistance is. And again, a lot of it is negotiable. So if there's something that you absolutely love, but you think it's a little bit highly priced, ask the vendor if that's the best they can do.
Great. What is a good vendor for tall women?
So I don't feel like there's any one specific brand that's dedicated to tall, but in Project Women's, there's a lot of denim manufacturers that do a longer length, so that's probably one of the opportunities that you have available. But again, if you're developing a store or you're developing a clothing line for tall women, I would consider going into sourcing and doing some private labeling from some of the brands there.
Great. Will manufacturers deal with small or just starting brands? If so, how to get the manufacturers to produce small orders and samples for us newbies, like 10 pieces per color. That's small.
All right. So first, 10 pieces is not a business. It's a hobby. This is not a hobby show. So if you can't put yourself into a cut-to-order position and really think about the bigger picture of selling at least 5 to 10 retailers your first season, then you have to rethink your whole strategy. 10 pieces is something you get a tailor to do for you, locally. But when you go to Magic, and really if that's your train of thought, my suggestion is go to some of these workshops. The fashion workshop that I have on Tuesday really addresses this, how to reach out to the retailers, how to get orders before you put it into production and risk, having all this inventory without having any sales. There's some really great workshops on Monday under the sourcing banner that also help educate you on how to talk and negotiate with some of these factories. There's a great panel discussion on how to work with foreign companies that do offer a lot of these smaller minimums. I would take a walk around the African venue that they have at sourcing, because a lot of those factories, I happen to know that Candace's factory, based in Ghana, she does 50 minimum pieces. And again, if you think about what your cost of production is for 50 pieces, it's probably the same as buying 10 pieces locally made from a tailor. So it's also about how much money you have to invest and also the overall strategy of the business that you want to develop.
Great. Another question that came through, I am a new startup e-commerce boutique. I'm attending Magic to get my inventory started and launch my site as soon as possible. What's the soonest I could get things shipped from Magic? So Magic, a lot, I would say 98% of the vendors that are going to be at the show have immediate goods. So by immediate, I mean that if you write the order, confirm it right after the show, you could probably get it within 10 days. So that's not going to be a problem. The problem is being an e-commerce store. Please, I beg you, before you go, can you just watch? I have a video on YouTube under my company name called How Not to Start an Online Store that I think gives you a lot of statistics. And it's a great opportunity to come to the show, to look at some vendors, but maybe a better idea is to save a little bit more money and really look at that moment of opportunity that's available right now with some of these really great vacant retail locations to open a brick and mortar store. In the fashion business, especially when we're talking about women's fashion, it's an emotional purchase. You need to touch it. You need to feel it. You need to feel part of something. And a retail environment that's brick and mortar is really the only way to convey all of those emotions. Great. Another question that's a follow-up from an answer that we gave earlier. I'm a new e-boutique owner and will be attending Magic for the first time, and I'm registered for sourcing only. Based on your answer for sourcing, would you recommend I pay to upgrade my registration for the fee?
Well, if you have all the credentials that you need, you don't need to pay to be a retailer. You just have to show them your website. You have to show, maybe you need a letter of intention from some legal counsel. But if you have your credentials as a retailer, there's no need to pay for a fee.
Can you put your own boutique label on the clothing, or do you have to keep theirs? Or does it?
No, I love that. I love that. So that's called private label. And again, every time I mention a margin builder, like some of these young contemporary vendors that are at the Las Vegas Convention Center, I do love to relabel goods. So what's the legal part of that? It is legal if I relabel it under a name that I own and have registered trademarked. It's illegal if I put like Ralph Lauren or Prada in it. That would be counterfeit. So you want to be able to do that because that's another way of separating yourself from the e-commerce people or Amazon people that are selling things for like less than cost, so that you can be competitive and people don't look at apples to apples. So private label, product development, and full design are all available at Magic.
Great. And I know a lot of people are asking about the app for the show planner, and I just want to kind of elaborate on that. It's not necessarily an app, but the show planner is on our ubmfashion.com site under Magic, under Planning Tools for Floor Plan. So there'll be a link there shortly, and you can access that link through your mobile phone. It's not necessarily an app that you need to download, so I just wanted to just kind of elaborate on that. And another question that came through, I have my credentials for my state as well as my website, so I can bring that with me? Question mark. I think the question is, should I bring that with me, my credentials for my state as well as my website?
The answer
I would try to do
yes.
everything.
If they're going to do it on show site, yes, or do it first.
When does registration close online?
Registration's still open, and if she would like to reach out to our retail team, we can help her through that process and get it done before you get to the show, so you don't have to worry about doing it on show site.
So this is a cool question, and we're always excited when we have new attendees. This will be my first time to Magic. I'm buying for my small boutique. What items should I bring to accomplish this?
I'm not really sure about the question, what you should bring, but what I like to bring is, if it's possible, I like to have my own order forms, or if you don't have time to make them, I like to have a sticker with my shipping address so I don't have to rewrite it 100 times on the vendor's order forms. I like to bring a notebook, a stapler, and a pencil or a pen so that I could take notes on the brands that I'm not sure about, but I want to keep a record of what I saw, because as your store grows and evolves, you have this great resource of our personal directory that you've curated during the show. But to be honest with you, you don't need much more than that. I would also make sure that I have my phone with me so that I could take pictures of the brands of the things that I buy and like, so that I can make my final conclusion and confirm my orders after the show. But it's actually quite simple. I mean, it's not a show where you have to show credentials, or that you have to, to register, yes, but to qualify for some of the brands, you could do that after the show by sending them pictures of your location. But it's really not that complicated. It's actually quite enjoyable and easy, kind of fun environment. And you'll also find, I try to be a little bit of a drama queen, but you'll really find a lot of it, most of it, to be really accommodating and encouraging to a lot of the new brands and a lot of the new retailers that are coming to the show. So it's always really exciting, and I think that you're going to find it a very supportive environment for all of the new people that are starting out.
Great. And then Mercedes, we have a couple of questions specifically for you. What is the website to find the how not to start an online store link?
Please watch it and give me a double thumbs up, because you'll thank me later. And it's on YouTube under my company name, Global Purchasing Company. Great.
And then another question that came through, are you available for one-on-one consultation?
Yes, we are. And if I could just say, it's easier to do it on Skype before the show so that we could answer your questions, and then we could do a follow-up after.
Great. And regarding the question of putting your own private label on clothing, do the vendors offer it, or do you after you receive the order?
So, yes, they do, but yeah, yes, a lot of the vendors do offer it, but they want at least a minimum of 100 pieces to put the labels in. What we do, especially if we're buying 6 pieces, which is totally cool, right? We get somebody locally, like usually we find them at like the local dry cleaner that has a seamstress, and we usually pay $1 to take the label out and to put our own labels in. And I have to tell you, that dollar has a return that's 10 times. It really does. And the most difficult part is taking out the label. It's not putting in the label. So when you're buying goods, make sure that it's not one of those giant labels that's sewn on all 4 corners, because they're impossible to take out. You want probably to do it from one of the brands that has like a smaller, simple label that's just tacked on.
Great. And then another question that came through is how do I reach the retail team?
You can reach the retail team at retailrelations@ubm.com, and I will send you that email address over. And you can also reach us at 310-857-7316.
Great. And then a question that came through about the convention centers. Do you know the approximate distance from the LVCC or Las Vegas Convention Center and the Mandalay Convention Center?
Yeah, it's literally on the opposite side of the Strip. So that's why you really want to give yourself at least an hour. There's shuttles that are running constantly. There's limousines that are running constantly from the sites, from both sides. You could always jump in an Uber. You could always jump in a cab to get there. But it's literally on opposite ends of the Strip.
Fabulous. And should we dress in a specific way?
So we mentioned before that it's important to look professional, but everybody's version of professional is very different. If you have an activewear store, I don't think it's appropriate to come in leggings and a tank top and ready to work out. I think you do need to look sharp. We are in the fashion business. We're not going to buy pencils and pens and notebooks, and people will judge you. So I would say, keep the shoes comfortable. That's fine. But, what wouldn't be appropriate are flip-flops, sweatpants, cut-off shorts, crop tops, definitely jeans and a blazer, because it is very cold inside the convention center, a blouse, dresses, it's a fashion business. So what you think is appropriately, how about this? What you would wear on date night would be appropriate attire.
That's a good one. I like that. Another question that came through, is there an opportunity to meet potential sales reps for your line at the show?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually a great opportunity, and again, it's about catching them because most of them will be busy in their booths. It's a great opportunity to exchange business cards and probably follow up the conversation after the show. But this is where you get to see people in action. You get to see the other brands that they represent. You get to see how they interact with the buyers. So it's absolutely a great moment to do that.
Great. And another question that came through. I'm new to Magic, and I might need help navigating the show. Who can I talk to? Or is there a service that I can use?
Celeste, you want to handle that one? The concierge service is probably your...
Go ahead, Mercedes.
I'm sorry. The concierge service is really your number one resource. I mean, just send an email. It's up on the slide, the email that you can reach out to. Be specific so that you don't have like 15 email exchanges. Don't say, I'm new to Magic, tell me what to do. Like, be really specific. I'm looking for women's skirts at this price point. I'm looking for these kinds of styles. I'm looking for men's, underwear, whatever it is. Be as specific as possible, and they will get back to you extremely fast.
Great. I'm looking in the queue. I think we've kind of done a little marathon here with Q&A, so that's awesome. We love the interaction. If you guys have any other questions, we'll keep on the line for you. We know that, this is probably the most beneficial part of any presentation is having this one-on-one time with some of the, industry experts like Mercedes and Celeste. So please feel free to, keep those questions coming. I don't see any others in the queue. I'm just looking through now. So at this time, if there are no other questions, I really just want to say thank you to everyone who participated. Special thanks to Mercedes and Celeste for taking time to review this very valuable information, whether you've been to Magic before or you're new. The industry is changing. Our events are changing to meet those industry needs. So, we want to thank you. Oh, there are a couple of questions that came through. Okay, let's see. Okay, postpone. Pause that one. What do you think is the best seminar for a new brand?
Oh, definitely any of the trend forecasting ones. There's one that's being held by David Wolf, which is a mentor and just really, really just an amazing speaker. His ability to translate runway and the obscure to actual things that are sellable is incredible. And of course, anything done by the Fashion Snoop team is really, really invaluable. So if I had to pick 2 workshops, it would probably be that. And if you're really, really new to the industry, any of the how-to workshops, I think would be really beneficial to you also.
Great. A couple of more questions have come through. See what happens when you tell people we're going to end? This is great. We love it. So keep them coming. Do I need to bring any credentials rather than badge and photo ID? So in addition to badge and photo ID, are there any other credentials that someone should bring?
I mean, it's not necessary, but it is important, especially if you're a retailer and you're a new retailer and you're trying to reach out to some of the really established brands, to put together a very simple concept book. So pictures of your stores, the brands that you carry, you know, some of the social media links that you have used, some of the pictures of some of the outfits that you have put together, a little information about yourself, a little information about where the store is actually located. All of those things are really relevant, especially when they're qualifying you to accept the brand into your business. Again, you don't have these issues with 50% of the brands that are at the show, maybe even a bigger percentage than that. But if you wanted to have one more layer of cutting to the chase and getting business done, I would definitely put together a small concept book. So think of it as like a glorified scrapbook of your business.
Great. How can I introduce myself if I still don't have pictures of the store?
So you know the old saying, fake it till you make it? It's more like fake it until you become it. So you will become this amazing retailer, and it is important to be honest with a lot of the brands that you're working with and tell them where you are as far as the timeline with the opening of your store. And if it's really far down the road, that way it gives them the heads up of how much time to spend with you too. Because if there's one place on this planet where time is money, it's in Vegas, and it's during the show. So if you're a year away from opening the store or 2 years away or still in the conceptual stage, just be honest with you. Hey, listen, I'm really new to the business. Can I take a look around the booth? Can I grab a line sheet? Can I take some pictures of things that I'm interested in? I want to go back and share with the people that are going to be the clients of my store. And having this honest conversation is probably your best advice I can give you.
Great. Another question that came through was, can you recap the buying budget based on square footage of a store?
It's all going to be online on the PowerPoint, and I'm really sorry that I totally oversimplified it. But again, if you catch my channel on YouTube, I do go over it with some more detail. And if you're really interested, on Monday I do have that full-day class. It's a 7-hour crash course on how to be a retailer.
Great. Okay, I'm going to try and rephrase this one, but I think I got the gist of it. Sounds like there's a few interested in e-commerce. Will there be any specific learning opportunities regarding e-commerce to look for on-site at Magic?
There are several marketing workshops and e-commerce workshops based on rankings. Some of the bloggers also have good advice on how to build a following online. But again, I can't stress it enough that having 1 million people visit your website does not necessarily convert to sales. And right now, online conversion of people that you can actually get to go to your website that translate into sales is less than 1%. At a retail store, at a boutique level retail store, it's 80% conversion rate. So I really, really want you to take that into heart and think about it. But yes, there's a lot of people there, and there's actually people there with platforms on how to sell online too, which is probably a really good opportunity to meet some of these platform people so that you get a little bit of insider tips from them too.
Great. I'm a new designer in the leisure and luxury space. Do you recommend any manufacturers at sourcing?
There is a matchmaking desk when you first come in. There's a gentleman there. His name is Bruce. He's a genius when it comes to figuring out all those things for you. But I would say, just off the top of my head, I would definitely look at Columbia, some of the brands there, because they are really into athleisure and they actually have a lot of premium fabrics that are available. And I would also probably take a look at some of the Peruvian brands too with their cottons.
Great. Another question that came through about registration and what to bring. I was told or read somewhere that the DBA papers and tax ID were mandatory. Is that true?
Celeste, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I'm going. Yes, you can use your tax ID number or your doing business as in your tax ID. Again, I would encourage you to get your credentials in prior to the show, and then if there's any discrepancies or anything else we need, we'll be able to help you prior to getting there so you have everything set before you get to show site.
Fabulous. And here's another question that came through. My plan is to open a women's and men's boutique. Should I stay focused on both or just start with one?
So that's a really interesting question. I have had the experience of opening a lot of stores that start as men's and women's, and they usually start as 30% men's and 70% women. And in my experience over the years, almost all of them convert 100% into a women's boutique. And what we have found is men don't like to shop in a women's store, but women do shop for men. So if you have some items, especially during holiday, where it's an add-on like a nice polo shirt or a nice tie, that once the woman is shopping for herself will pick up something for their significant other or as a gift, that works really, really well. But the amount of space that you would need to dedicate in order to fully separate the two departments is quite large. So to answer your question, yes, I would focus on just one or the other, and I feel like right now there's a lot of opportunity for men's stores, especially in the moderate to better price point.
A question that came out about sourcing. Do you know if they cut sample yardage at sourcing that I can take home with me?
Stacey, can you repeat that one more time, please?
Sure. Do you know if they cut sample yardage at sourcing that I can take home with me?
No, they don't. Not sample yardage, but they do have swatches. Some of the factories do have swatch cards and swatches, but most of them will end up sending it to you in the mail.
Great. Another question that came through is, who do you recommend I visit for jewelry and handbags?
The jewelry so it's really scattered throughout the show, and it really depends on the price point that you're looking at. But I happen to like a lot of the accessory people that I find at Women's Project, and which is really nearby the pool area, which has a lot of really fun and unique pieces. There's one brand that's new to the show called Sparkle Bomb that really has colorful, fun, like little acrylic pieces that really are statement pieces. But you'll find them throughout all the show, and especially in Young Contemporary, you'll find some there that are margin builders too. And that's really something easy to private label because it's all about the packaging.
Great, thank you. And then another question, this might be our last one coming through the queue, and I'll try and rephrase this. How to figure out a wholesale price for clothes I designed? Does it need to be indicated on my hang tags on the garment in my showroom?
Yes, you need to put a wholesale price. And so in school they tell you that price is based on the cost of manufacturing, the cost of, the shipping, the advertising, the sales, and the cost of fabric. But honestly, what we suggest is that you work it backwards. You first have to know what the customer is willing to pay for something of your quality, of the standard of production, of perception of value of where it's made. Once you understand the consumer's price resistance, then you match that to the retailer that you want to sell it to. You have to have an understanding of what the retailer wants to make on the garment. If they just want a keystone, if they want to triple it, it depends on the retailer. And then you have to set your budget, and we recommend that from total cost to wholesale price, it's at least 3 times. So instead of going to the factory and saying, how much does this cost, you really have to tell the factory a budget that you can work with so that the consumer was actually willing to pay for it. And I have to tell you, as a buyer, so many times a new brand will come to me and they're just so ridiculously overpriced. And then they blame it on everything. Oh, I'm buying small quantities. The factory is killing me because I'm doing small production runs. The fabrics, I'm buying them at retail. And it's not my problem. I only care what I have to pay for it, not what you paid for it. So you have to understand that consumers' price resistance and then work it backwards to get your wholesale price.
Great. And then I think similar to the question we had earlier about accessories, this might be our last question. We are a full-service, better-grade shoe store. Sold a lot of handbags in the past, but sales are down in this department. So in the handbag department, they're seeing some sales going in the downward direction. Interested to hear your comments on handbag business in general.
So what we're finding in handbags, first of all, handbag business is actually really good. But we find that it's really bipolar. People are looking for really cute, trendy, conversational, whimsical kind of handbags at a moderate price point, and then they're looking for luxury status price points. And luxury status doesn't necessarily have to be a Hermes or a Gucci bag. There are so many. There's actually one beautiful Korean manufacturer of alligator bags that you'll find at the sourcing show that also has a booth at the women's show. That is really luxury, and people will pay for something like that because it is a status item. And then the real novelty fun bags, you'll find them in all three areas. You'll find them at Project Women's, you'll find them at Pool, and you'll definitely find them in the Young Contemporary. So that's what we're finding. It's both. It's very bipolar. It's both at the fashion spectrum of price point and look.
Fantastic. Okay, one more question, and then I think we might have to wrap it up. As a designer, are there any manufacturing companies that might sell your design to somewhere else? And if so, what can I do about it? That's a good question.
The answer is absolutely yes, they will, and absolutely nothing you can do. So design in general cannot be protected. So if this is going to be a hang-up for you to be in this business, it's not a good business to be in. So the idea, and this is the advice I give my clients, you either design something so absolutely detailed and difficult to copy that nobody will want to, or you learn to copy yourself before somebody else does at a different price point. But there is no protection of design. I've heard of people that actually go after a patent. Sometimes they win it, sometimes they don't. But to fight a patent at court costs millions of dollars. And usually if you just change it insignificantly, it's a whole different product. So to answer your question, you need to live comfortable with that, the fact that somebody's going to copy you.
Great. So that pretty much wraps up the Q&A session from today's webinar. Again, amazing information, and yes, all of this will be sent to you in a recorded link about an hour after the show. After the webcast. See, I'm already in show mode. So any other questions that come through, you can reach us at cs@ubmfashion.com. I want to thank, again, Mercedes for doing just a phenomenal job here. This is terrific. I know if I was new or even existing, coming back to Magic, and I haven't been in a while, this is just invaluable and just absolutely amazing information. So thank you so much. Again, this will be sent to you within an hour after we end this call. And I want to thank Celeste as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for participating. It's been a good hour and a half of great ideas and questions and information. So everyone, hopefully we'll see you in Las Vegas. And that concludes our webinar for Magic August 2017.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.